Jessie Brockle, joined by the amazing Ashley Geist, and this is Counselors and Coffe podcast. Because who doesn't love a little counseling and a hot cup of coffee? We created this space with connection in mind and love exploring topics involving self-growth and wellness. Welcome to a space dedicated to learning and growth, a soft place to land, and a sturdy place to climb. Although we work hard to bring inspirational, educational, and impactful information to you, it does not in any way take the place of counseling or dictate a clinician-client relationship. This podcast is for enjoyment, and we encourage you to consult a professional if needing specific services.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. If you're joining us for the first time, we're glad you're here. If you're coming back, thanks for being here. Welcome back. Today, we are talking about things that we love. The title of today's episode is Stuff We Love, things that bring us joy and light. And the reason we're going to talk about this today is not just for fun, but it is because we are talking about enjoying simple pleasures of life, how that's part of mental health. And then we're going to dive into the science a little bit of why the things we like to do make us feel good. They give us lots of feel good neurotransmitters. And so when we want to do something fun, interesting, relaxing, whatever, it's not that we just want to do it just 'cause, but it's a biological need.
And I think that's the coolest part is sometimes nobody explains to us that our bodies actually respond to the things we're doing chemically. Our systems change. We have different chemicals that get dispersed throughout our bodies that then create a cycle of well-being. And so I love this topic, and I love that we're diving into the different kind of hormones that we can kind of access to increase that feeling of health and well-being.
Yeah. And so we're going to kind of walk through some of these different things. And I want to say too, before we do that, if, we kind of hear that term, if you don't feel like doing the things you used to do, check with your doctor. And the reason behind that is, if you say, I love soccer, I love making macrame or painting or playing with my dog or whatever, and all of a sudden you don't want to do those things that you love anymore, that can be an indicator of depression, anxiety. Usually it skews depression, but it could show up other places.
Mhm.
And so if that happens, Jess, what do you suggest people do?
Well, definitely start to kind of pull out some of the tools maybe you have in your toolbox for coping, because that's definitely a signal to our body that it's running out of resources. There's something kind of going on. And I think about the timeline of the changing of the seasons because my body definitely responds to seasonal affective disorder. I
Mhm.
get more tired, more fatigued, less motivated, more isolating. I kind of withdraw a little bit. And knowing that about myself, or if I see those things, I'm going to double down on some of the strategies that I have. And a lot of them we're going to talk about today. And
Mhm.
the thing with this, and I think the hardest part too, when we're not feeling motivated, it's hard to jumpstart that system. But it's a double cycle system. So the more we do them, the better we're gonna feel, and the better we feel, the more that we're gonna do them. So sometimes we just have to start, and we don't always have to wait until, mentally we're ready. Sometimes physically, we have to kinda jumpstart it or force it a little bit, knowing that that system is then gonna kinda trigger.
Yeah, that's such a good point and so true. Something I hear from people a lot is, "Well, I'm waiting to get motivated," or "I just
Right.
can't
"I'm
get
not ready, I'm
motivated."
waiting."
And I always say this, I'm gonna give you some bad news today,
Yeah.
especially if depression is there, you won't feel like going for a walk. You will not feel like making vegetable soup or whatever it is that you wanna do to be healthy. You gotta dive in and do, which is so hard when our neurotransmitters sometimes get to the point where they're shutting us down.
Absolutely.
Mm.
One of the mottos that I really live by, I have a tattooed on my body. On my left arm, it's begin. And
Mhm.
on my right arm, it's pursue. Because
Mhm.
we aren't always in a space to be able to feel like we're ready. And I think this goes along with not only my professional side, but also just my personal goals and also my mental health. If I am in a slump or in a funk, all I have to remind myself is to start somewhere, chunk it out, take a piece, and then just pursue, don't give up. And so just beginning sometimes is the hardest part, but it's the most important.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about different things that we can do, activities, activation, how they connect to our neurotransmitters. We're going to dive in with oxytocin first. So, and we're going to drop in stuff we love along the way, ways to kind of get these neurotransmitters moving. So, oxytocin is produced when we bond with others and is often called the love hormone. And activities that will bring this on are cuddling, positive social interaction, hugs, psychological connection, bonding with someone else or a pet, words of kindness, caring for our pets, and sharing.
Mhm. This is a big one. And I think this is just speaks to the validity of how much connection really matters. And we've had a lot of things happening in our world that make connection sometimes harder. And we're finding other ways to do that. But being in the same space with someone, the vicinity, feeling their energy, having that sense of touch is huge. It has a big impact on our mental health and well being.
Yeah. So, Jess, what are some of your favorite oxytocin producing activities?
Oh my gosh. So my husband's probably cringing right now because I am not a super affectionate person. I'm just not.
That surprises me about you.
Yeah, no. And I think it has a lot to do with too that we have such an emotional job that when
Yeah.
I get home, I'm like emotionally capped out.
Yeah.
And so I kind of tend to like, kind of want to be by myself for a little bit. But my husband's a super big, like physical guy. He's very touchy. He loves affection. But on the flip side, like if I'm in a space where I'm not kind of stressed out, where I'm not overwhelmed with work, spending time with my kids is kind of my go-to. Watching them grow, celebrating their successes and being involved in their lives really helps me feel connected to them.
Mhm.
I also love me a girls' night. There are a handful of girls that just make me feel loved and accepted, and I leave those kinds of experiences really feeling recharged. And especially, like, my husband and I, we really knowing that we have a hard time connecting through, like, the work week because of the work that we do. We make sure that we plan times when we can have that connection, to go ahead and get that oxytocin flowing. We take vacations. We really kind of are intentional about the time that we do spend together. How about you, Ash? How do you get that hormone flowing?
On my list, I have cuddling with pets. That is probably one of my all-time faves, to pick up a purring cat or hang out with the dog after work. Um, Hugs from people I love, laughter with my friends, and making art and collaborating with others. I went to an art class the other night, and it was just fun, and there wasn't even a whole lot of talking, but just a little bit here and there, people walking around the table saying, "Oh my gosh, look at this person's seashore," or, "This sunset looks amazing. Look at the shading on that tree." Like, that type of connection for me in an artistic space is very meaningful. And of course, a big hug with someone I love, laughing. Gosh, I love to laugh. That sounds silly, but I do. It's so fun. There's just nothing like it. So that's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah. So going on to dopamine, and I will say too, we're going to have all these resources at the end from Cleveland Clinic, Psychology Today by Dr. Chicky Davis, and Simply Psychology by Olivia Guy Evans. So all these will be posted at the end if anyone's curious on finding these themselves online. So, dopamine, it's a hormone that helps us feel pleasure and is involved in the brain's reward system. So, we get this by completing tasks, finishing projects, meeting goals, maybe having a snack, eating, sleeping well, and listening to music.
Mhm. Yes, this one is one that I think of a lot,
Okay.
because it is like that pleasure hormone, right? We get a little bit of that feedback that, "Ooh, that felt good. Ooh." And we seek those kinds of things out a lot, which is great. So for me, some of the things I do is, oh my gosh, I love my sleep. I am like a bear hibernating. I can sleep for hours and hours and hours. And so that is really, really something that kind of makes me feel ready to kind of tackle the world. Um, I work hard to get enough of it, but I think my sleeping space has a lot to do with if I feel like I can get the rest that I need. So I might like light a candle for a few minutes and like really have like a smell or an aroma that's really relaxing or like calming to me.
Mm.
I have my favorite pillow. I totally have blankets. I love weighted blankets. I'm also a music girl. In the morning, I tell my Alexa, "Hey, wake me up, girlfriend." And she blasts some classic rock and some 80s, and, it just starts my day off on a good note, and I feel just lifted.
Yeah, amazing. How about you, Ash? Music and sleep for sure. And that for me, the last 4 years has been really complicated, and so sleep is something that I'm working on right now to kinda shore that up more, and it's going well. It's going pretty good.
And that's hard because if you're not sleeping well, it is super frustrating.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like, you're laying in bed and you're frustrated and upset that you can't sleep because you know you need to sleep, and then it just doubles down that anxiety, and so sleep
Mhm.
is really difficult, especially if you're challenged in that area.
Yeah. And I never used to be, but just some life circumstances kind of upended that a little bit, and so now it's
Mhm.
something to work on, so I have a whole new appreciation for those who struggle with that for sure. Music, and I'm very affected by music, and so my music changes up quite a bit, what I need, what I like, and I have my favorite artists and playlists, but I will tap into different moods and
Mhm.
vibes to give me what I need in any given space.
Okay, so question for you.
Yeah.
Because you can use music in a lot of different ways, and I am always interested to find out, like, how people kind of use it.
Yeah.
Are you the kind of person that will play something to honor the mood you're in and sustain that mood, or to help you flip or, transition to a different mood?
Good question. I'm gonna say both.
Yeah, I think that's pretty
I
typical, but
think I do both because I think I'm like, if I'm in a pretty good mood, I don't wanna listen to something sad or slow, I want something to
Right.
match me.
Right.
But sometimes I'm in a craptacular mood and I'm like and I this is nuanced, but I need something to meet me and shift it.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
don't wanna hear super happy music, but I maybe need something with a little bit more rhythm behind it to kinda get me going,
Yeah.
but also that kinda meets me where I'm at. So I think a little bit of both. Or I'll use it to create a feeling. Let's say I'm just feeling good or neutral, but I wanna create a meditative space, I'll put on that type of music.
Mhm.
Something like that, or I want to create a productive space, and so I'll try to put on some classical music in the background because I know that, that's gonna tap into my sit and work kinda side of things.
Mhm. Absolutely. One of the things I think about is like, for me, I use music, especially like more slow or kind of more your sadder music,
Mhm.
very intentionally.
Okay.
So if I am in a space where I'm know that I'm needing to do some grieving or healing work, I will intentionally draw myself into that space and just, like, honor it. Like, I'll be like, "Okay, we're gonna do the ugly cry. We're gonna give space for that emotion to come out in any way it will," and that music sometimes helps me kinda get there, and then be able to kinda like, "Okay, regroup, and now I'm gonna go, 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 go." Because I don't know about you, but in my daily life, it's really hard to create stillness for reflection, healing, those kinds of things. My body just wants to move forward. Go, 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 go. What's next? And that's not good for me. I know that in
Mhm.
my heart.
Yeah.
And so music is one of the things that I use to tap in and allow myself to take the time.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful. I've heard people of using movies like that too.
Yeah.
I was just listening to a continuing ed with a therapist, and she was talking about her own vicarious trauma and needing to feel her feelings. But she's like, sometimes I sit down and I'm like, I don't feel anything. And so she'll watch a sad movie once in a while. And it's not in, I want to say too, it's not in a space of wallowing or making ourselves sad all the time. But
Right.
if you're like, gosh, I got to release something, um,
Mhm.
and you need some support in that to kind of create the space, I think that can work really well.
Mhm. With a lot of
Mhm.
my clients, I'm working a lot with just shifting use of language. So, like the
Mhm.
words like dwell versus reflect, two very different words, very different energies and connotations. But sometimes we do have this sense of like judgment. Oh, I'm having a pity party. Oh, I'm dwelling. Oh, I'm, this, that, and the other. No, shift it because reflection, feeling, those are all really good things, really natural things. And so I think even shifting some of the ways that we look at expressing emotions more as a strength than a weakness is really important too.
Mhm. How do you how do you help people know the difference
Mm.
between being entrenched in something
Yeah.
and reflect?
So I do a lot of work with like self-talk, the way we talk to ourselves and kind of those default beliefs that we have about ourselves and the lens through which we view the world. And a lot of times, because we're inside of it, we can't be objective about it. We don't even realize we're doing it, right? If I make a mistake, I might say, Gosh, Jess, you're such an idiot. No, gosh, Jess, you made a mistake. There's some compassion in that. And so, I guess the first thing is identifying what kind of language you use and what
Mhm.
kind of beliefs that you have and if they're helpful or hurtful.
Okay.
And then starting to identify language that can inspire, and has more of a positive connotation. And then you just practice. You practice, practice, practice. And
Mm.
gosh, journaling, writing these things down, putting it on a Post-it note. I even do voice memos. And
Yeah.
pretty soon, your language starts to change.
Mhm.
It's just like if you're hanging out with someone who cusses all the time, you'll start cussing.
Right.
If you start hanging out with yourself and you're telling yourself all these good, positive things, you start to have that as your default track.
Yeah, I love that.
Mhm.
So kinda hopping back into the dopamine, more ways to get that, more healthy things here, kind of on the sleep and, music track, crossing things off our to-do list, that's one of
I
mine.
love that.
So great. Eating well and on a schedule. Sometimes tricky, but that can affect dopamine for sure. Completing a small task if we're struggling with large ones. And I put down for me that is load the dishwasher. If I'm stuck or if I'm working on something that is going to take a while
Yeah.
and I'm frustrated by that, I will go do something small to kind of get that little dopamine bump.
Absolutely. You feel more confident,
Yep.
more competent. Yeah, like it gives you that push that you need to sometimes tackle those bigger pieces.
Mhm. So serotonin is next. Serotonin is the hormone that boosts our mood, regulates sleep, and some of the activities for that one are laughing. And you'll notice some crossover between the groups. That's okay. Being outdoors, enjoying nature, again, healthy foods, sunshine, and exercise. So, Jess, take us on a walk through serotonin. How do you support this for yourself?
Oh gosh. Well, I think you hit on it earlier, laughing. Oh gosh. You know, my husband loves dad jokes. And they're so simplistic and dumb sometimes but oh my gosh, a big gut laugh really just changes my whole body language. It really
Mhm.
does. Um Another one for me is just like spending time in the outdoors. We live in a beautiful place located right along the Missouri River. And so just going out on the river, being surrounded by water in the sunshine, love it. Love it. It just is my happy place.
We've been having this like extended summer weather this fall. Have you been getting out there at all the last few weeks?
No. No, we did not. I missed our chance now, but
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. But even and that's a good point too that, I think we love to be outside when it's nice, but gosh, I would say going outside when it's not nice, equally important, maybe
Mhm.
more so. And I say that as a very crabby and cold person. So when I force myself to do that, I force myself to put on some boots and a coat and to get out there because it is so good for us,
Yes.
for sure. And so that outside time is super important to me in all seasons as much as possible. And that doesn't mean we're out there a whole ton of time when it's cold, but even just to walk around the block or just get outside a little bit. Eating whole nutrient dense foods at the right times for me. And
Okay,
that's
talk to me
really
about nutrient dense. What do you mean? Give me some examples.
I to me, that's anything colorful,
Okay.
blue, green. When I say that, it's a real food. The food that grew on planet Earth. That's what I
Yeah.
tell my students.
Not processed, not packaged.
No, we're gonna eat foods that grew on planet Earth. If it didn't grow on the Earth, and of course, yes, there's exceptions in that. But the more that we can eat, dark green leafy stuff, bright colored fruits and vegetables. It's kind of that old adage of eat the rainbow, which I
Mhm.
think is kind of the easiest way to look at it. If our plate is all one color or our plate is all bland colors, we just want to look at what fruits and vegetables and whole grains can we add and healthy sources of protein.
Mhm.
And so sometimes that is so easy. Like I've been growing a lot of squash this summer in the garden, and I realize not everyone has a garden, but a vegetable
Yeah.
to roast with a grain of some sort, and sometimes just that is fine for us or, a lean source of protein, so, like, a little bit of chicken, a little baked potato, and a roasted vegetable. That's it,
Mhm.
and it's pretty darn easy.
Yeah.
Pretty darn if you think of, "Okay, I'm gonna pick up a rotisserie chicken, I'm gonna throw a pan of potatoes in the oven for 20 minutes," or however long, probably takes longer than that, but 35, 40 minutes, and I'm gonna roast this vegetable, and I'm gonna eat it all. I'm gonna put a serving of each on my plate and try to do half the plate in veggies or fruits or a combination of both. It can be that easy. I think
Mm.
sometimes and me too, I'm like, "I don't know what to make." And I do love to cook, but sometimes life is just rough, and you need something easy. That's kind of the go-to in our house, roasted vegetable, grain, and sometimes I'm meat, sometimes not. Sometimes I'm lazy to that point, and I'm like, that's good enough." Like,
Mhm.
just the roasted veggies and rice, and, there you go.
Yum.
Yeah, it is yum, it's good. Mhm. Or a fruit smoothie, anything that's got nutrients and good stuff in it.
Mhm. And you talked about, like, having a hard time sometimes knowing what to make or feeling kind of
Yeah.
overwhelmed in that. There's lots of things online. I mean, you can just Google, all sorts of things. So, don't try to recreate the wheel.
Yeah.
Get out there and kinda try some new things, and for as important as it is, the decision of what we consume, we sure don't pay attention to it the way we should. I mean, we're
Yeah.
talking about the one body that we have and what we fill it with. And
Mhm.
sometimes we just like grab, the easiest thing. No, if we want something that's going to be healthy and
Mm.
robust, and be well, we have to intentionally take time and be thoughtful about how we treat it. And eating is one of the biggest pieces.
Mhm. I even think, like, packing snacks, like, the other day, I was moving really fast, and I just swept through the kitchen, and I grabbed a cheese stick, a banana, and I threw in an oatmeal packet into my purse. I
Perfect.
knew that I could make that at work. Uh, Easy, it doesn't have to be super difficult, it can be fast. Another way to do that, eat lunch at the grocery store. If someone has a grocery store that's close or they have foods, a deli, salads, sandwiches, stuff like that. Even to me, even a sandwich from the grocery store that was made by a person there
Yes.
with their hands, with whole ingredients, that is sometimes better than something that's ultra processed and,
Mhm.
you know, picked up from fast food.
For sure.
Yeah, so that's some ways that I get those in. And then I had on my list exercise that suits my physical needs and changes up when needed. Comedy, using a happy light, especially now in the shorter hours of the day. But my exercise one, gosh, that has just gotta suit me when it suits me.
Yeah.
I'm selfish and self-centered with my exercise. I'm like, "Doesn't suit me, I'm changing it." But to me, that's how I keep moving.
Yes.
I change it up by season and I change it up by need. Um, so yeah, those are some of mine.
Very cool.
Yes. So on to endorphins, which earn the nickname as the brain's natural pain relievers, which is very cool. And so these are a lot of movement based. So exercising, riding bikes, really movement of any kind. So even cleaning our house is movement. If you're like, I'm
Mhm.
gonna do all the laundry. Really, we can be getting some endorphins from that, just from the movement part of it.
Right.
And the task completion, dark chocolate, which is better than laundry, laughter, activities and being active, making music and dancing. Yeah, so those feel good endorphins, and gosh, it feels good to laugh. It feels good to move and get those going.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever notice that, like, if you're around somebody that's laughing, like it's contagious?
For sure.
Yeah.
Sure. In the best way.
Yes.
That's how laughter yoga works. Have you ever taken that?
No.
Oh my gosh, I got to do a session at a workshop once. So fun. And, people hear that and they're like, "Well, I can't laugh at something if it's not funny." And they know that. The teacher knows that. And the purpose of being at laughter yoga is to create a ridiculous intentional experience through kind of like theater style games, like improv style games that are super funny.
That is
And
awesome.
it is the best, and it's an ab workout, it makes you feel great, like, it was super, super cool. So if anyone out there has access to that, I totally recommend it.
Awesome. I'm gonna have to totally tap into that. Yeah, one of my favorite things of all times is watching my husband laugh because his face gets all squishy and his eyes, oh my gosh, it's just pure joy. And
Yeah,
I just can't help but feel good when I see him laughing and it just like makes me laugh. I love it.
yeah, that's a good one, the laughs of people we love,
Yes.
there's nothing better, right? There's nothing bigger. So also on my list, I've got walking, making art, just kinda some of those good basics to come back to, and laughing as well.
Mhm. Well, and you're super creative. Like, that's one thing I always kind of appreciate about, like, touching base with you and, like, looking at your Facebook feed and what you got going on because you're always trying something new, and I just think that's so
Oh,
cool.
thank
Yeah.
you.
You inspire me, girl.
Well, good. I think that's important. I think we all have that in us. I don't
Yeah.
think that's not limited to one person or a person who thinks they're creative. I think we've all got that
Mhm.
in us, that ability to try something new. And I have to tell you a funny story from painting class. So my friend painted something lovely. Gosh, I think it was just phenomenal. And she goes, "Gosh, I painted this beautifully," I humbly say to myself. And we start to laugh. And I'm like, "Funny you should say that." I was just sitting here thinking, I am great at painting. And we were just laughing so hard. And am I that great at painting? No, I'm just putting paint on the canvas. Like, I don't know, I was painting dots or something, but I'm painting my dots. I'm like, yeah, me. Like, I'm not gonna win any art awards, but it just felt good, and we're just laughing about how, like, we're very beginning paint students, like, take away our teacher, we probably don't know at all what to do. Um, but we were just having fun, and nothing big hinges on this. We can be good at it or we cannot be good at it, it doesn't matter, and if we painted a snowball today, like, great, you know?
Right. Well, and you zeroed in on that self-talk piece. When we start something new or we try something and we're not like super great at it right away, our language starts to kind of sound really negative. Gosh, I'm not good. This sucks. All those kinds
Mhm.
of things, which then decreases our motivation to keep trying
Right.
or build that
Yeah.
um piece out. But for you guys to be like, I am the best painter. This is great. That is so amazing. And it isn't, a lot of people think that when you give yourself like a pat on the back or a high five, you're being like
Mhm.
egocentric and narcissistic. You're not.
No,
You
we're
should be
not.
your biggest cheerleader.
Yeah, we were just having fun, and pretty soon everyone in the room was laughing. And our teacher was laughing with us, and we were laughing, um, and yeah, I know it wasn't ego, it wasn't. I don't think my painting's the best in the room, but we were just looking at ourself and kind of being proud of ourselves. If we painted one blade of grass that looked good out of 37, we're like, I got it.
And that's just fun.
Yeah, she goes, "That's what this is about. It is you just
Yeah.
keep practicing your strokes, put paint on the canvas, just keep coming back and practicing, and this takes time to, get excited and to make things you're excited about." And she was just so lovely and complimentary, and we were all having a great time. I feel like everyone left that evening very uplifted no matter what we made or didn't make, and I
Mhm.
said my goal of the night, if I put paint on a surface, I'm happy. Like, it's
Yep.
be
Absolutely.
good. So yeah, take an art class. And I'll also say there's so much online. Oh my gosh, the time we live in, there has never been more affordable, accessible online content for free, for low cost. Like you could take a drawing class for $19. I'm thinking of like Udemy and Coursera
Yeah.
and some of those things like that. And even people with private businesses that offer wonderful programming. Like if that's anything, if someone wants to bake bread or do whatever, and you don't live in a space where you can access those things, hop on the internet. It's there, and it's good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Jess, do you have any that you want to share here before we move on?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, sounds good. So, hopping into kind of our next pocket here, things that bring us comfort, help us stay present and mindful. Jess, you've got a couple good ones on here. You've got your coffee and some acts of service. So, kind of walk us through your go tos, your favorite things that when you need a pick me up, you can turn to these directions.
Well, definitely my coffee ritual in the morning is something that kind of just jump starts my day, and I think it's also just that idea, not necessarily like I crave the coffee,
Okay.
but the act of making the coffee, drinking the coffee, it's
Yes.
something warm. It sets the tone for my body that, "Hey, we're gearing up. We're getting
Yeah.
ready to start the day." And so without it, I do feel pretty sluggish. Like, it takes me until about noon to, like, get my rhythm and my groove on. So that's kind of an important one for me. So I try to do that and be as consistent as possible because, like I said, it's more like an alarm clock for my body.
Yeah.
And I don't my body doesn't respond to caffeine, the same way that a lot of people do, so, like, I don't get all, like, jittery, edgy, anything like that. It doesn't hit me up like that, so it doesn't hurt me in any way, I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, and another way that I kind of mix in some goodness is, like, they have now collagen powders and different vitamins you can mix in with your coffee, so I think
Okay.
that's kinda cool,
Wow.
because sometimes I don't take care of myself the best or am
Okay.
able to eat the best, and so that's just one more way that I can show myself some self-care and some love.
Mhm.
Another big one for me is, oh my gosh, acts of service are
I love this.
huge for me. It's like my love language. I'm like, "What can I do for you?" Because that's
Mhm.
gonna make me feel better. I love to give special gifts, cards, or even, like, surprise people for no reason. Oh, I just love those pieces. And so that's something that if I am not feeling the best or kind of slumped, I will absolutely look around my circle and be like, okay, what can I do for somebody else?
Mm.
And then just that gratitude of being able to serve someone else is like amazing. That joy that I feel, that happiness that I feel in making somebody else feel seen and heard. Ugh,
Oh,
love it.
beautiful.
Yeah, what about you?
You know, some of my go-tos if I'm feeling down, I've been making sourdough bread since April, and I love that. It's the process, it's the ritual, it's the tactileness of it, it's the smell. So I love to make bread, which is a process. You kinda have to time it out.
It
Um,
is a delicate process.
it is, and yet it's not I don't find it that hard. I feel like it's simple,
Mhm.
but it's complex in kind of the steps you follow and the time and stuff like that. And so that I feel like is a really good grounding exercise for me. I like to give some of it away sometimes, which is really fun.
Mm.
And I feel like that process, I don't know, it just kind of it signals to me that I'm taking intentional time to move slower and do something for myself and my husband and the people I love. So that feels really good. I'm a huge fan of John Baptiste music. He is my absolute fave, and so I love to listen to his music, put on comfy clothes. I like to arrange flowers. I will go to a big discount
Very
store.
cool.
Yep, grab a bundle of flowers, bring them home, and go, "What do you wanna look like, flowers?" And put them in different vases and, play with those. Trying to to think what else. Cup of tea. I've really gotten into tea drinking the last year and a half or so. And that can be caffeinated or non,
Mm.
but the same thing. It's kind of that ritual. And sometimes I make a fast cup of tea and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I boil water and but even that, it doesn't take that long, but the
Right.
payoff is huge. Huge. Walking is always a big one for me. I love to walk, I love to read, and I love to put on a podcast. That is always a podcast while I clean or while I lay and do nothing,
Hmm.
and just learn something or be entertained. That's a really good one. And I wanna give a quick plug, which, they're not a sponsor or anything, but the 5-minute journal. I was gifted one of these for my birthday, and it is the coolest thing. It has a little spot where at the top you write just a couple of things you're thankful for.
Thank you guys for tuning in and hopefully gathering some more information on how you can bulk up your mental health naturally. Many of the things that we already do initiate those really good chemical changes in our body. So don't reinvent the wheel. Take stock in what you're already doing and double down. Also, feel free to explore ways to bulk up your self care strategies and incorporate new and exciting things to boost your mental health. We would love to hear your ideas. Go ahead and shout it out and inspire us. If you like what you hear, make sure and subscribe and follow so you don't miss any episodes or any goodness from Counselors and Coffe. Till next time, have a good one.